This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful Christmas Toronto background behind me because I consider that my true home. But folks, here we are on December the 15th, just 10 days away from Christmas. And I know my guest, Santa's going to find my guest. Definitely, you know, she's been good all year. That look that isn't convincing me. What?
Having
What?
something.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, she's been good all year except according to Jerry Swirls, but that's another story. Folks, I've had her on here a number of times, and I had her on here with her brother Colt in tribute to the late great Rowdy Roddy Piper. And I've had her on here talking about her singing album.
Mhm.
And I've had her on here with Deimos as a House of Heathens 3 times, but today she is flying it solo. Deimos, I believe, is in La La Land. He's in La La Land. Folks, I give you the absolutely stunning, beautiful, gorgeous Ariel Teal Piper. How do you do, Ariel?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? You look great.
Thank you.
Yes. What you doing? Watch Deimos?
Pardon?
What you doing? Watch Deimos?
Very much. He
You
keeps
want
me in the gym.
you want me to tell you what I think you should do?
What?
Get a straw and like put little paper balls in it, and then pea shoot them at him.
I've done that before.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like with
Does-
straw wrappers at restaurants. He
yeah.
doesn't think it's funny.
No, does he slap his head whenever he thinks it's a fly?
No, he just looks at me like, grow up. And I refuse.
I don't blame you. Growing up sucks, doesn't
It
it?
does. It does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get that from your dad. Your dad didn't grow up, did he?
No. But he was otherworldly.
He was absolutely. Well, it was nice to keep in touch with you, and I know talking to you the other day, you said you were had to get your hand looked at. You hurt your hand.
Oh yeah, I snapped it in half a few months ago.
Yeah,
Wrestling?
no, I know you had an arm wrestling competition and Jerry Swirls broke your hand. Is that what happened?
No, he wouldn't have been able to make the qualifiers for that. You'd have to go to a gym to beat me, you know?
Yeah. Jerry does go to the gym. Well, I understand he was just naturally fit, according to
Oh,
him.
uh, by whose measurements?
His.
I mean, he's as fit as my grandma, you know?
I had him on back in January, and he said, I'm one of 2 podcasts that's had him on more than once. And I said, I have to have him come on here so I can tell him what you guys say, and then I can
Well, it's
start.
nice that you do charity work.
I do charity work. Oh, man. Anyway, how is your hand?
It's good. I still have like a little bit of like weakness in my pinky and it's a little numb, but it's good. I've been back to wrestling and training and lifting weights and just waiting for the nerves to catch up, but we're back at it.
You know what? I had it rough earlier on in the year. Back in January, I had a retina operation.
A retinal operation?
Yeah.
Oh, I always feel like, did they put you down all the way for that,
No,
or do you have to? Oh gosh, nope.
actually, it wasn't that bad. It was January 10th. I remember the date well. I went to work cleaning at a UPS here, and there was like little black spots appearing in front of my right eye. And I
Uh-huh.
went to the eye doctor, and he said it just comes with age. And I'm like, I'm 52. I'm going, what am I going to look like when I'm 62? Anyway, I took his word for it. Exactly 10 days later, on the 20th, at the UPS, I was at work and it looked like a black curtain over about 75% of my vision. So anyway, they told me that I
Jeez.
had, yeah, they told me that here I live in New Brunswick, and they told me I'm going to have an operation. So I get done my overnight at work. I come back here. Of course, I sleep during the day. So I'm get climbing to bed about half hour in, my phone rings, and it's a guy telling me that I'm needed in Halifax for 1 o'clock for my retina operation. And I said, 1 o'clock? It's eight in the morning. How am I? That's like 4 hours away. And how am I supposed to get there? And says, you got a driver? I've got a car, but if you don't want me to drive, he says, can anybody drive you? And I said, well, possibly my younger brother, but he will owe an explanation to his employer. So I told them I would contact my brother. So I contacted my brother and told him what was up, and he said he can't leave that day, and I knew that. He said the best he could do was Friday. So I called them back, and they said, okay, Friday works. You can go in for your consultation. And I said, no. If I travel 4 hours and a half to Halifax, I'm getting my consultation and the operation, not making several trips.
Yeah.
So they have me go in Monday instead. So if you ever have a retina operation, I'm going to tell you what happens. Don't panic. I listened to a few videos on this first, got the scoop on it. They don't put you down. They don't put you down, but you don't feel
Okay.
there's no pain. You
That's
go in.
not good enough for me. I don't want
Actually,
to, the emotional pain of being there is bad enough.
you know what? They had me fill out some paperwork and stuff. They put a warm blanket over me, and they clockwork orange my eye. They covered up my the other side, and they kept my eye moist, but they fixed it up. And it was about, I don't know, maybe half hour, 40 minutes. And
It's
I
a
felt
long
a little
time.
bit of pressure, but no pain.
Yeah, but you have to see it.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't bothered. I could hear them just having a conversation. I could hear the music, and it was actually not bad. And
Well, good. I'm glad it wasn't terrible.
my brother took me home. I was told to take a week off work, and I said, but if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Hmm.
So they told me not to lift so much. I was back to work that night. I got my medication, my and but whatever medication they had me on going when I left. Okay, we stopped at Subway. I got a sandwich, and then on the way home, I was feeling it. I had to stop like 3 times to throw up. The problem is, I have those reusable grocery bags, and we didn't get stopped inside, so I threw up in one.
Oh
Those
man.
those things were holding that in.
Oof. Gross.
Yeah, those
Oh,
weren't being reused again.
yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, but
Who's
uh,
on your shirt?
who is it?
I'm not sure. Is that um what's her name? Like an actress?
Yeah,
Uh I can't remember her name right now.
I wish I could say it was you. Make you blush. That's Emma Stone.
I thought it was Emma Stone. I just couldn't remember her name. That's funny.
I have an all over Emma Stone shirt.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Emma makes me laugh. You make me laugh too, but Emma makes me laugh. You make me laugh in different ways. But yeah, if you ever have a retina operation, it's not painful.
Good to know.
Okay?
Okay.
It's not painful. I wasn't looking forward to it, and I had a cataract operation in that eye too, and it wasn't painful either. So now things are a little distorted, but I can see you. So this I have 20/20 vision.
All
So
right.
but I was able to drive that night to work.
That's impressive.
Yep. So there you go. So there you go. So if you ever have that, you got the scoop from me. Do not
Noted.
do not panic.
I'll probably panic, but I'll try not to.
Well, if you panic, call me.
Okay.
I'll put you in touch with Jerry Swirls.
Pass. I'll
Nope,
just,
seriously, you can call me if you want to.
okay.
Yeah. But anyway, how the I gotta wonder, were you like in an arm wrestling contest with Tori Wilson? Because apparently she had a problem. She had a thumb operation.
Oh no, I didn't know she had a thumb done.
Yeah, I've seen
Oof.
her updates online. I'd love to get her on here because she did the Doubtfire challenge, and I would love to thank her for that because that was so cool of her to do. But I've been seeing her updates, and her trying to process going around doing things and talking, got her hand all up in a cast and whatnot. But very optimistic, very positive.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Have you ever met Tori?
I don't think so. If I did, it would have been in passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really know her.
No.
I mean, I certainly know of her, but I don't really have a relationship with her.
Yeah. Did your dad put you in touch with Wendy Richter?
No, my dad was very segregated with wrestling in his family.
Well, anyway, I had Princess Victoria on earlier again this year too, and
Oh, cool.
oh yeah, she keeps in touch with me and she's awesome. She still remembers, when you were born, she remembers.
That's so sweet. I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, you were supposed to be Chelsea Marie. Can you
Yeah,
can you just see yourself being announced to the ring as Chelsea Marie?
that's hilarious. My mom would never have allowed it.
No. So what was the process of getting was your hand operated on?
No, so they were trying to decide if they wanted to put a pin in it or not, but they ended up not doing that. And it's weird they don't put you in casts anymore. You just tape it up or something, and we're like, good luck. So it's like it feels like it's really exposed when it's broken. But I just waited it out. They said that if you don't put it in a cast and you can move it, that it actually heals up quicker,
Okay.
which is bizarre to me because you feel like it's unprotected. But sure enough, it healed up. Although, like I said, it's still like I definitely feel like weakness in my pinky and stuff. So I don't
Hmm.
know. As is life, I was in denial that I broke my hand for a couple days. So I was doing a match, and when I came down, the way I bumped with the other person, my hand just snapped in half. And I looked over at Deimos, who had this look on his face because I saw my fingers were just like bent the other way. And I was like, nope. And I popped him back in and continued going, thinking they were just dislocated. And then I got put in a wrist lock and I felt the bone grind. And I was like, well, that's not great. That hurt quite a bit. And then I just continued to live in denial for a couple of days while my hand was just like super black and swollen and stuff. And then I think I was in the kitchen trying to do dishes and I dropped a dish. And Michael, or I'm sorry, Damos, just looks at me and is like, so your hand's like super broken and definitely wasn't dislocated, right? I was like, I don't want to talk about it. He's like, let's go. Went to the emergency room and sure enough, very broke.
Does
But
your emergency rooms take 10 hours like ours do?
no, they don't. I got in much quicker than that, but our healthcare ain't free.
Well, we had somebody that's back during the pandemic. Somebody didn't have the illness, but whatever he had, he died of right there, waiting to be seen.
I'm not
Yeah, that made the
surprised.
news.
Healthcare is a mess.
Yeah.
Ours is like, I think I pay like 500 a month for my insurance, and it's a $10,000 deductible.
Wow.
I know. So it's just like, and it doesn't cover half of everything. So it's just like, I don't know. It's a joke. Just
Yeah,
don't get
but
sick or hurt at any point in life.
aren't you part Canadian though?
I have dual citizenship, but I've never lived up there.
You need to come up here. Well, come up here after Trudeau's gone. Wait till next October. Holy cow.
If we
Uh,
all make it, have you seen the drones, the New Jersey drones?
no, but
What, do you live under a rock? There's
I've
like
been following a lot.
crazy stuff happening here.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should Google it.
I'll have to do that. New Jersey drones.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Well,
there's
yeah.
basically like UFO stuff all over right now, and
Oh, I didn't hear
nobody
about
knows
that.
what it is.
Maybe it was Jerry. Maybe it was Max Moon. What, you don't remember that gimmick?
No, I don't actually.
Google it.
I
That was
will.
that was one of Vince's ideas that didn't work.
That, that's hilarious. I'll definitely Google that.
Yeah. But nonetheless, when you have a an experience like that where your hand is broken like that, how do you communicate that? Like obviously when it happens, you obviously you got people watching, you gotta make very quick decision how you're to access that, you know? And obviously, whoever your opponent is, you gotta make some kind of communication to in the referee. So, what was it like with your opponent dealing with this? And like, did she switch over to your other arm?
So I could tell she was freaked out because when she put me in the wrist, like she was surprised I kept going, and then when she put me in a wrist lock, and we both immediately could tell like this isn't great for my hand. Like it was a very sharp pain, and like I said, you could feel the bones grinding. So when she did that and she saw my reaction, she kind of looked like I don't know what to do here. So I just kind of took over at that point because I could tell she wasn't sure what she should do. So I just kind of started giving her heat and you know, just not using my hand. So if I needed to lift her up, I just wouldn't engage my left hand to do it and finished out the match that way. Just told her to be, I just kind of told her I was like, be light on my left hand, and then I try to make it so she didn't have to work my hand so much.
So you didn't do like in the Abdullah the Butcher versus Terry Funk match where Terry Funk went from bad to having a fork driven into his forearm.
No, but I feel like the fork would hurt less.
You know what this reminds me of? And it's interesting when I see this now that I know what's going on in wrestling, watching what goes on in the because when I was young, I didn't know any better. I always thought two people went in there and they hated each other, you know. Now
Yeah.
that I'm smart to what's going on, like it's interesting seeing the communication factor in the ring, especially when something goes wrong. I remember there was a match between Beth Phoenix and Candice Michelle, and some
Mhm.
move happened where Candice Michelle injured her neck. And all I could do was watch Beth Phoenix as she was going to do her finisher. And she had her by the arm and then she just kind of drops her arm. And so kind of like looking at her. And it's like you could tell the wheels are turning, like she is injured, you know, and then she just
Mhm.
gets down and covers her. And I was
And
like,
it also you have to remember it depends on where you're at. Like, are you on the indie scene? Are you at WWE? Are you at AEW? What state are you in? Like, you handle all those differently. For instance, um, Deimos, one of the first times he started bleeding accidentally, he had his eye socket like crushed in. Um, it happened at the beginning of the match, and he was very, very quickly like, whatever, I can work through this, try to continue. And the ref kept telling him to take it home, and he thought it was just the promoter being a pussy. Uh, he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. We'll finish this match." And then finally, the ref gets in his ear and he's like, "If you don't go home in the next 10 seconds, the state is going to charge you $5,000." He was like, "Roll me up." So it's like certain states have certain rules that you have to follow. TV has certain rules depending on the network. And then, of course, indie shows are just, it could be the state, it could be the type of show. So it kind of really depends, also how your opponent's handling it. It's just kind of using your discretion. At least that's my experience.
kind of thinking, yeah. And then there's New Jack.
That's a different story.
Yeah, he doesn't listen. Apparently, he doesn't listen.
Well, yeah, that's not a very good worker, in my opinion, if you're out there just hurting people for the sake of hurting people. I don't know. If you're good at your job, you shouldn't have to hurt people.
No. Well, I was listening to an interview that Jesse Ventura did, and of course they're resurfacing Saturday night's main event, and I'm like, are they bringing him back as a heel commentator? Because I kind of miss that. And Jesse was asked who he liked working with best, and of course, the first name he brought up was Tito Santana. He said Tito and him got each other. It was like a night off working with each other,
Uh-huh.
and you get that. What is interesting is that you get scenarios like that, and then you get people that work stiff. Your dad's old buddy, Greg the Hammer Valentine, was saying he loved working with Ronnie Garvin. And I remember seeing the match where Garvin was chopping him so bad his chest was bleeding.
Hmm.
And both of them, I heard both of them comment on this. They loved beating the crap out of each other and then just go back in the dressing room after and just high-fiving it.
Well, I find like
Right.
the best matches are those. I personally prefer to work stiff,
Mhm.
but you can't always do that because especially being a girl, there's a lot of girls that just want to be pretty and are terrified of getting hit, which makes me laugh in my brain. But, so you have to work with who you're going to work with. But a lot of people that are friends and like there's that trust in the ring, where that they're not actually getting in, you know, trying to get something over on you or shoot on you or have a problem with you, and they're just throwing a good match and you can work stiffer, and those matches tend to be good because they just that believability is there because they're slugging each other. They're just doing it in a way that isn't going to send them to the hospital. It's going to hurt, but it's supposed to hurt. You're just not supposed to get injured. So like I
I
personally prefer to work that style. Um, but you still have to be able to accommodate everybody's style, you know what I mean?
So when you wrestled Jerry Swirls, you were being stiff when you rammed the
No,
umbrella
I wasn't. I was
onto
light as shit with him. That guy's fragile.
her.
God.
It's funny. I heard your dad say this in an interview, and I believe the Junkyard Dog was the same way. They tried to keep their matches under 20 minutes. And then you got guys like Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair that will go like an hour. And I actually heard Steamboat was saying one of the keys to going that long is you let the referee count to two and you go as long as you can before that three count before you kick out, you know? Um, from your standpoint, do you like to get her done under the 20 minutes like your dad, or have you gone the long type of matches like Steamboat?
Well, typically the match, like the length of the matches depends on where you are on the card.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's not about most, especially on TV, they have time constraints. So if you're in the main event, you're going to have a 20-minute match or more if it's a pay-per-view. But if you're in a mid-card, like it's not going to be a 20-minute match because they don't have time for everybody to have a long match. Personally, I rather have 20 to 30-minute matches because it's very hard to get the audience drawn in and tell the kind of story you want to tell in 8 minutes. It's almost impossible. So you have to really dumb everything down and keep it very simple. And you can't really get deep into like the art form of it in 8 minutes very easily. So like when you start to get to 20, 30-minute matches, that's when you can really draw in an audience and get them to connect and long-term story tell and but that's also something that usually you don't have the time to do unless you're in one of those top main card spots because they don't allot for it. The main event is the long match typically. So it would make sense that people like Flair are doing those long matches because were in main event situations. So and everyone has to work their way up there. They also, don't trust everybody to captivate an audience that long because it is a very complicated art form.
Oh, your dad knew how to do it.
Yes, he did. He was very good at it.
Yeah. You ever go back and you watch the crowd react when he um had that broke that electric guitar there, bashed it in the ring there, and there's Cyndi Lauper was in there, and
Oh yeah. Yeah, those crowds, man, back then were so awesome. It was so electric and everyone was so invested. And, it's a lot harder to get the crowd behind you these days just because they're so much more critical and that magic of the golden era is not there anymore, with the internet and everyone had broke kayfabe. And so it's a very different style you have to work to get that audience. Or, you know, we always say that like now it's about making the audience think they saw something real within something that was fake,
hmm
if that makes sense. Or at least I
hmm
feel like that versus back then they just thought it was all real, so it was really easy to just story tell in a lot of ways compared to today. But then on the flip end of that, a lot of the job was a lot harder back then. They certainly were a lot stiffer.
you've still got the dog collar in your garage.
Mhm.
You and Deimos ever put that on and see who's going to run the roost at the house?
First of all, I run the roost, and no, we don't.
Um, looking I was looking over some of your matches online, and I got to ask, like today, and this is one thing that bothers me today because you don't see it as much, and I'd love to see them get back into it, where you get big feuds and whatnot, because a lot of times people remember that.
Hmm.
Um, what is the most interesting angle you've been in?
Ooh, I think because like I feel like one of the disadvantages in the independent scene is you're in a lot of cold matches with no, you're not in a lot of long-term programs that the audience is behind. So the angles are always just cold one-offs
I'm
and
always
very,
behind yours.
you're too kind. So like there's not a lot of the promoters are very just vanilla, like copy and paste with what they want out of their matches on the indies. You don't get to really do interesting angles as much. But let me think. I mean, I think my favorite ones are ones where I can work with Deimos, versus solo matches. Um, I always like any angle I can turn heel on because I really like that moment where the audience is like, ugh. Like I love watching them root for me and then just taking it away from them. So any angle I can turn heel on, which is usually something where I'm tricking them in some way, making them think I'm hurt, like shoot hurt, and then later on coming back and showing that it was just a distraction or a trick or something, and then Deimos gets the win or whatever, So like anytime I can really trick them, I enjoy that. But I haven't had any angles that I think were long-term storytelling enough or a program or anything on the independent scene because they just honestly don't know how to do that out there. They're they're just like, they don't most of those shows aren't sure how to do something like that yet. So that's something that I think will get more fun the more in depth we go with bigger companies.
You find it difficult to do a heel angle when your dad, I know your dad was a major heel, but he also became a very beloved face. Do you find it hard in your performance to translate that because your dad was so loved?
So yes and no. Like initially, every time I'm in the front of a newer audience, being introduced to them, they initially want to see me as a baby face because of my dad. So it's always hard to start as a heel. And it's also difficult because in today's times, you can't be a heel like you used to because you're not allowed to actually be a bad guy to play a bad guy anymore, which is hilarious to me. But whatever. Fucking whatever. So like the you have to censor a lot more than you used to, but still get the audience to hate you, which is hard. So typically I'll start as a baby face, but I find that especially with nepotism and stuff like that, it's very easy to get them to hate you or let them down in some way, because they're already rooting for you. So if you do and say the right things, it's easy for them to be like, like to get that feeling of like hatred from them, but I have to be out there long enough to turn. So if you give me an 8-minute match at a random new indie show I haven't been at before, that is almost impossible to do a heel turn in 8 minutes coming from the crowd being super excited and have it actually work, you know, because that's just not enough time to tell that story. So that is more the challenge. But if I have them out enough time and like repetition there, it's not hard at all.
What's the most unique match you've been in? Like a like cage match or chain match, dog collar match, what have you? You know, you got various different styles of matches.
Well, I haven't done like a cage match. I actually have talked about doing a dog collar match in the future, but there's only certain people I'd work with to do that. Um, I think for me, I have not gone for any death match type stuff because I'm a big believer that you should be good enough at your job not to need to shred light bulbs in your eyes to get the crowd behind you.
I agree.
And if you know what I mean? So like if I'm gonna go through something like that physically, I'm gonna do it for a payday that's worth it. I'm not gonna go on some indie show and scar up my body for 10 people in the audience when I could just do any other match. You know what I mean? So as far as those types of matches, unless it's, a show that matters and a paycheck that matters, I wouldn't consider it. But I have done matches that are just oddly booked, like the one with Jerry Swirls. I was in one with him, Shannon Moore, and Fandango, because that promoter was just an idiot who didn't know what the fuck they were doing at any point in
I
time.
guess not.
And that's me being kind. Um, so like he would just throw me in these weird, like nonsensical. I'm like, why am I in a match with like two WWE guys and Jerry Swirls right now? And how do psychology wise, what the fuck are we doing here? But it was kind of funny because the whole match was like a disaster from A to Z. Um, but I did it, and it was just funny as hell.
I remember your dad did a cage match with Bruno Sammartino that was really awesome. He,
Hmm.
yeah, and he broke this wooden chair at the end of it, you know. But but yeah, I wouldn't want to see you like I don't want to see your forehead look like Abdullah the Butcher's or Bruiser Brody's by
Yeah.
yeah. That's not
I
good.
also I also think like a lot of promotions in general shy away from the women doing that because it's just not always something that gets over well with the audience. So I don't get offered that many positions for that. But when I do, like I said, if it's not a payday that's worth it, if it's not going to cover my hospital bills if I need them from the match, why would I do it? It's just bad business and stupid. And I think, and I've seen it a million times. I've one of the shows I was at like a year ago, the guy before me had a hardcore match and he comes in the back and he had to go to the emergency room. He was bleeding. Like I think he cut an artery, like he was passing out and wrecked. And that guy did that show for $50. And although it's a nice, like, I get that it's a passion, it's like, for what? You're not going to get signed off that match. Any real professional is going to look at it and think you're an idiot. Why would you do that? Why don't you just learn how to work? If anything, it puts you back. And now you're going to spend that $50 real quick going to the emergency room. Like it's just not smart on every single level, but these people just think it is because they saw, I don't know, Mick Foley do it, so they think that that's the same thing and it's just not. So unless I'm on a level where it would matter if I did it, what's the point?
I think
I think I would
Terry
be good at
Funk,
it. I think I'm actually
yeah.
have a very high pain tolerance and I can take a hit really well,
Hmm.
but I'm not doing it for free.
Terry Funk, I think, knew how to do that stuff really, really well.
Exactly.
And it's unfortunately he's gone. Although Dory Funk Jr. is 83 and apparently still getting in the ring. Explain that. But
You
Terry, if he was alive, he'd be the guy I would recommend people to talk to when it comes to hardcore matches, because he would be able to steer you in ways that you're not going to kill yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why he was so respected. He did quite a lot of those in Japan, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And that, in those situations and with those people, those are the people that put that on the map. Like those are people that are the best in the world at it.
Hmm.
Your funk, your Foley, but it's a different situation in
Hmm.
a different market by professionals. And people forget that there's a difference between backyard wrestling and people that were trained by the people who watched the internet and actual professionals that know what they're doing and are doing it as a business. Because I guarantee you, none of those people would do it for $50 on an indie show. They'd laugh you out the building. They'd be like, ha ha, see you later, kid. They wouldn't do that.
No.
They might give you a hit, but they ain't gonna take one. So like, I think that people misconceive that that's what their job is, but it's
Hmm.
not. And people that are on that iconic stage and have done those matches and are well known for those matches, it's because they treat it like a business, and that's why they got to where they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did
Yeah.
you ever wrestle in Japan?
No, but it is on my radar. I really want to. Um, I've talked a little bit recently with opportunities out there, and I'm seeing, obviously Japan's a long, far away, so it's, calendaring and figuring out what is the best idea. But I definitely want to say I got to wrestle in Japan.
Yeah, yeah. So, you wrestle in a lot of the indies. Are you go get any closer to WWE or AEW, or do you want to do that?
I do like obviously I want to I love wrestling, so
Mhm.
I want to do it anywhere that I can get a stage and have fun and do what I want to do. We're always talking with certain companies, and we've had to take some time off to have some surgeries and heal from some things. So like we're just getting back into it, but the we are expecting to do stuff at the end of the month here with a company. Um, and we're kind of back to discussions with them. So it's definitely something I want to do. But as you know, with wrestling, sometimes they have a spot that they come around and you're the person they need to do the job, and sometimes they don't have something in mind for you, and you have to wait for them to come back around. It's a fickle business, but it certainly is something we're discussing with people.
Have you ever had, you probably have, but have you ever had somebody try to shoot on you?
Yes.
Okay, how'd you handle it?
Um,
First off, why did they do that? And then
so
how
this
did you handle?
person
Yeah.
will remain nameless, is a TV talent on um at AEW, and we had a match. And the way I was introduced to her was hearing her screaming down the hallway, tromping at me, being like, I don't care who the fuck her dad is. I don't even know who Roddy Piper is. And I'm like, cool. Can't wait for this interaction. I guess the agent had told her she needed to bump on my comeback, and that insulted her. And so she just came and like screamed at me for maybe 10, 15 minutes of just nonsense. Well, and I listened and I was polite because, you know, I just don't always need to fight people. So I heard her out, and she stormed off, and she was just so bitter that I don't know whatever happened before I got in the room, right? So I did not see that girl until my music was playing. Had no idea what we were doing, and she was very, very upset. And so we're in the match, and when I tagged in, I got a big pop, and I thought she's gonna have a problem with that. And sure enough, at the end of my comeback, she shoot kicked me, and it was funny because like I said, I like things stiff. So I don't think I noticed that she was shooting on me until everyone else told me. Because honestly, if that was a shoot, she's fucking weak as shit. I was just like, oh, like I don't think I noticed sometimes because it's not the first time that people are like, are you okay, blah, blah. And this person, like, I was like, I didn't know that they were fucking shooting on me because honestly, they're not very good at it. But yeah, I had a lot of top names tell me about how they think I should have decked her out and stuff, but I didn't. I didn't have another interaction with her in the ring after that moment. Had I probably would have, you know, been a lot more defensive with her or offensive. But at that point, it was done. I was like, whatever, you're weak. And I moved on with my life. It depends on the situation you're in, like there's different ways you can handle it. And it would depend on the person I was working with. If I thought it was somebody I could take in like a real situation without ring rules, that's different. If it's somebody I'm not sure about, like, if it's Shayna Baszler or somebody like that, I'm like, I don't know. Um, I would probably handle that situation very different. You know what I mean?
Did you ever hear the story about how Andre the Giant dealt with the Ultimate Warrior working stiff?
No, which one was that?
Bobby Heenan, when he was alive, was telling this story. Said that if Andre didn't like you, he let it known, you know. But he was put in a program with the Ultimate Warrior, and Andre had this thing where he'd get knocked into the ropes and he'd get tied into them. Heenan said Andre liked doing that, you know. But he said the Warrior would go out there, run around the ring, and he'd get against the ropes and he would clothesline Andre, but he would hit Andre really hard. After the first night, Andre told him, stop being stiff. Anyway, the second night it happened. Warrior got against the ropes and he hit him again. And he got against the ropes again and he hit him a second time. The third time he got against the ropes, Heenan said Andre stuck his fist out. Warrior's face paint cracked and Warrior went down. When the match was over, Heenan said Andre was going back to the locker room and said, he'll learn.
That's funny. Deimos and I always operate on the rule of three. First time's an accident, second time's a coincidence, third time's a problem.
Yeah,
So usually in a match, if you get something happens once, you're like, shit happens. It's an accident. Live rounds go off. Something happens twice, that's a coincidence. If it happens a third time, you're in a fight.
yeah, yeah. I gotta ask, and I bring this guy up a lot. How much fun is it to do a program with Jerry Swirls? Because he just strikes me as somebody who's just funny, fun to
He's
work
very
with.
funny. He's very entertaining. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Um, he's very polite. He's not hard to work with, and he's certainly has a charisma and cares about his character a lot. And yeah, he's definitely funny.
He is funny. I had him on in January. He speaks highly of you and Deimos.
That's sweet.
Yeah. No, I told him, I said, if it wasn't for Teal, I would not have discovered him because now I'm kind of searching this stuff out, and I discovered him through you guys. And I was like, Jerry's pretty friggin' funny. And I started
Yeah,
checking it. Yeah. And I like that about him, like doing the Gangrel promo where he's putting garlic on his pizza because, you know,
that's funny. Yeah.
I like that.
Um, well, I do have to get to a hair appointment here in a few minutes.
Hair
So I
appointment.
am gonna have to get ready to go, but I
I
feel like we
thought
just could talk forever.
I thought Deimos had the hair appointment.
No, he has the beard appointment.
Well, I got two things I want to bring up quick then.
Yeah,
Number one, I know why Deimos is still asleep. I was expecting a Christmas cantata with all the songs you taught him for
that's
Christmas.
probably what he did. He probably was like, "Ah, he's not gonna get me. He's gonna go. He's like, I'm not going on and having to sing Christmas carols this year."
Bah humbug. And number two, like, is this going to be the year that we get the 4K Blu-ray and IMAX alter screenings of Psycho Sleepover? Hmm?
Probably. If I had to guess, it's gonna be the movie of the year. I should
I,
start
I,
shopping for my Oscar dress at this moment, immediately, in anticipation of it.
I had the director of Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies on again this year, and I told him, I said, because he wants to do a sequel of that. And I said, get
Tell him to
Teal.
put me in it. I would love to do that
I
movie.
did. I told him to put you in
And
it.
Deimos would be a killer in that movie. It'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, before I let you go, please do a plug for my show.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Go for it.
Hold on. Sorry, it's cutting out. What do you want me to say
Just
specifically?
just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm Teal Piper, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
absolutely love you, Ariel. Thank you for coming on here. I'll look forward to having you on again next year. I love doing this with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful Christmas.
You have a wonderful Christmas. I hope you get to spend some time with the family. How's your mom?
She's good. She's good.
Okay. Well, you have yourself a wonderful Christmas. Put that Piper video up for
You bet. I'm gonna.
absolutely. You take care of yourself, heal your hand up, and like I said, you get a fan in me, and eventually, I keep saying this, I gotta get a t-shirt of you at some point, but be patient with me. I've been saying that to a lot of people. I'm working two jobs now, about 80 hours a week. So be patient with me. Yeah. Anyway, you take care. Have a wonderful Christmas, and God bless you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Yeah.